Hello everyone. In this video, I will go over my solution to the problem named Among Us taken from INOI 2021. Let's begin by looking at the abridged problem statement. In this problem, we are given n people numbered from 1 to n, out of which some of the people are liars and some of the people are truth tellers. So essentially, there are two types of people, liars and truth tellers. Liars will always lie and truth tellers will always tell the truth. So the liars are essentially the parasites in this problem and the humans are essentially the truth tellers. No human will ever lie and no parasite will ever tell the truth. However, we don't know which people are liars and which are truth tellers. Hence, to find out which are liars and which are truth tellers, we are given Q statements from these people. Now, each statement is of the form 1ij or 2ij. So again, there are two types of statements, 1ij or 2ij. The statement of type 1, which is 1ij, gives us the information that person I is claiming that person j is a liar. So person I is basically accusing person j of being a parasite or a liar. And the statement of type 2, which will be given to us as 2ij in the input, gives us the following information that person I claims that person J is a truth teller. So person I is vouching for person J and saying that he's a human or a truth teller. So given these Q statements, we need to find the maximum possible number of liars among these n people. So first of all, if these Q statements are consistent with each other, then only we can report the maximum number of liars or the maximum number of truth tellers. However, if these statements are not consistent with each other, we need to print the value -1 because there cannot be any parasites if the statements are not consistent with each other. And we need to answer this for T independent test cases. So in T independent test cases, we are given n and q, the number of people and the number of statement. Each statement is either of the type 1 or type 2. And the statements, as I explained, will be either astronaut I is accusing astronaut J of being a liar or astronaut I is accusing astronaut J of being a truth teller. So before we look at the sample test cases to better understand this problem, let's make just one crucial observation by analyzing the two types of statements. So let's revisit and re-look at the two types of statement. The first type of statement is 1ij, which means I is accusing J of being a liar. So I is claiming J to be a liar. So now let's do some casework. So there are only two real cases over here. Let's say that I is a liar or I is a truth teller. So those are our two cases. In case 1, when I is a liar, we know that I is lying. So I is lying about the fact that J is a liar, and this makes J a truth teller. Now let's look at case 2. In case 2, I is a truth teller. So if I is a truth teller, then the fact that I is claiming J to be a liar is correct. And that's why we know that J is a liar. So based on this fact, or based on these two cases, we can easily deduce that each type 1 query gives us the information that I and J are of opposite types, or I and J are opposite types of people. Now let's analyze the type 2 query. In the type 2 query, again we'll do the same casework which we did for the type 1 query. We know that when we are considering two people I and J, I is vouching for astronaut J and I is basically saying that astronaut J is a truth teller. So if I is a liar, then we know that I is lying about the fact that J is a truth teller, and this makes J not a truth teller, so basically he's a liar. So if I is a liar, J will also become a liar. However, if I is telling the truth, then the fact that he is claiming J to be a truth teller is correct, and hence J will also be a truth teller. So by a similar casework, we can deduce that the main information we get from a type 2 query is that I and J are the same type of people. So to conclude our crucial observation, we realize that each type 1 query gives us the information that I and J are opposite types of people, and each type 2 query gives us the information that I and J are the same type of people. Now, equipped with this key observation, let's try out the two sample test cases. So as we work through the sample test cases, the algorithm should become clear to you. So in the first sample test case, we are given three people or three astronauts and two statements from them. In the first statement, we are given 1 and 2, which is I and J, and this statement is of type 1. And in the second statement, we are given 3 and 2, and this statement is also of type 1. So first, let's draw a diagram. So that's step 1. Let's create a diagram as shown above to represent the Q statements and the three people. So we know that 1 is accusing 2 of being a liar, and hence these two people, 1 and 2, will have opposite types, and similarly 1 and 3 will have opposite types. And based on this diagram, we can say that if we let 1 be a liar, then 2 will actually become a truth teller and 3 will also become a truth teller based on the key observation above. However, this is not optimal. And this is not optimal because if we just reverse the type of person 1 is, if we set the person 1 to be a truth teller, then we know that person 2 will become a liar and person 3 will become a liar. And this is actually optimal because this tells us that the answer is 2 and that there are basically two people who are liars. So 2 is the maximum number of people which are liars, and that's the answer for the first sample test case. So step 2 in the informal algorithm was labeling each person as a liar or truth teller and trying to maximize the number of liars. And right now we just tried out a few combinations on paper, but I'll show you a little bit later in this video how we'll exactly compute which ones are liars and which ones are truth tellers. So now let's look at the sample test case number 2. In the second sample test case, we are given two people, so n is 2, and we are given 0 statements from the people, so q is 0, and this basically represents our diagram. This is basically our diagram, and from this diagram we can easily see that we just set both of these people to be liars because that would obviously be the best way to go about setting liars and truth tellers, and hence we know that the answer for this sample test case is also 2 because both person 1 and person 2 can be parasites or they can both be liars, and this satisfies the conditions. However, in the third sample test case, our diagram looks like 1 and 2 are of opposite types from the type 1 query, and 1 and 2 are of the same types from the type 2 query, and this is obviously a contradiction because 1 and 2 can't both be of the same type and both of opposite types. So that's why our answer is just -1, and that's basically the answer for the third sample test case. You can read the explanation over here also. We know that 1 is claiming 2 to be a parasite and 1 is also claiming 2 to be a human. So the statements are not consistent and the answer is -1. So now that we have understood the problem and we have used two steps to solve the sample test cases, let's translate these exact two steps into a formal algorithm. So the first step, if you recalled, was building a diagram. So our diagram is actually a graph. So this is our first key step. We create a graph with n nodes and q edges, and the motivation for this fact is our diagram. Then we basically add edges. As you could see in the sample test cases, we added edges. Each edge was either of type 1 or of type 2. And basically, as we analyzed in our first key observation, we saw that a type 1 edge is a type 1 statement, and a type 1 statement essentially tells us that the two endpoints of the edge, I and j, are opposite types of people. So this means that if one of them is a truth teller, the other should be a liar, and vice versa. So this is the significance of a type 1 edge. Now, a type 2 edge is again a type 2 statement, and the edge from I to j means that I and j are the same types of people. So if one is a liar, then the other should also be a liar, and if one is a truth teller, then the other should also be a truth teller. So this is the first key step which we can deduce from our diagram. And now let's expand on the second step which we use to solve the sample test cases to come up with an algorithm on the graph which we created. So step 2 in the informal algorithm we used to solve the sample test cases was labeling each person as a liar or a truth teller, and we'll be doing this in the formal algorithm by coloring each node in the graph with one of two colors. So once we have built this graph, we color each node in the graph with one of two colors, representing the fact that this node is a liar or a truth teller. So one color will represent the liars, and the second color will represent or will mean that that node is a truth teller. However, we need to ensure that each color in the graph meets the criteria of the two types of edges. So this means if there's an edge from u to v of type 1, we need to have color of u to be different from color of v. And we know that if there's an edge from u to v of type 2, then we need the color of u to be the color of v. And this was based on a crucial observation which we made in the beginning about the two types of statement or the two types of edges. However, as you saw in sample test case number 1, there was no obvious way to say which color of the node will be which type of person. So in sample test case number 1, we didn't know whether to set one as a truth teller or a liar. And that means if we try to use, let's say, color red for person 1, and if we used a different color, green for person 2 and person 3, then we didn't know what this means. We didn't know whether red will be a liar or a truth teller. And we didn't know whether green would be the opposite color. So we basically didn't know which color to assign as a liar and which color to assign as a truth teller. And that's why we'll basically choose the maximum color as the color for the liar, and the color which appears lesser number of times to be the color of the truth teller. And that's because we need to find the maximum possible number of parasites or liars. Hence we do this, choosing the max occurrence as the liar and the lesser occurrence as the truth teller. So this means that if we set the color of 1 to be some number, let's say 1, then a type 1 edge means that the color of the adjacent node should be an opposite color, and a type 2 means that the color of the adjacent node must be the same color. And in the end, since max number of occurrences of a color is 2, which is basically for color 1, the answer is going to be 2. for this sample test case. Note that sample test case number 1 was a little bit different. Sample test case number 1 actually used the type 1 edge for both the edges, but this will I used this another sample test case just to explain the idea of both a type 1 edge and a type 2 edge. And now let's note two key points about this algorithm. The first key point is that there can be multiple connected components in the graph. So in sample test case 2, we actually saw that there were two connected components. The first connected component had just a single node 1 and the second connected component had just a single node 2. So that's why we need to basically visit both connected components. Or when there can be more than two connected components, we need to ensure that we visit all the connected components. So we need to color the nodes in each connected component separately. And basically for each connected component, we'll choose the max color as the color for that connected component. And this will be clear to you when we look at the code. The second point is also a small implementation detail, which is basically how we'll color these nodes. So in the code we use BFS. You can also use DFS, but we use BFS to implement the logic of coloring each node. And note that we need to color each node in accordance with the statements or the edges. So the statements are the edges, and we need to color the nodes in accordance with these edges. And we'll color it using the exact same idea which I mentioned over here. If the type of edge is 1, then these two are opposite colors, and if the type of edge is 2, these two are the same colors. So whenever we take a node from the front of the queue in the BFS, we'll add the adjacent or uncolored or unvisited adjacent nodes to the queue after marking the adjacent node with the right color. So just reiterating the logic, we realize that when we have the edge type 1, then the color of 2 will basically be opposite color of 1. So the color of 2 will be opposite to color of 1, and edge type 2 means color of 3 will be the same as color of 1. And note that our colors, so this is an important implementation detail, our colors, so color of I is 1 or 2. Basically there are two types of colors, hence we use the numbers 1 or the number 2. And in the first edge, we basically set color of the adjacent vertex V to be 3 minus the color of the top of the queue U. And in the second type of edge, we basically set the color of V to be same as the color of U. And after that, we just do the standard BFS. We add the vertex V to the front of the queue. And this is basically how we will come up with the formal algorithm. Now let's look at the code. So in the code, first I read in the number of test cases, and for each test case, I read in the values of n and q, which are number of nodes and number of edges, or the number of people and the number of statements in the context of the problem. Then I basically create the graph of n nodes, and as I mentioned earlier, the graph has two types of edges. So type 1 edge basically means that u and v are opposite types of people, and a type 2 edge means that u and v are the same types of people. So now we have built the graph with two types of edges. So we know that we need to color each node in the graph with color 1 or color 2. And we do this so that for each connected component, because there can be more than one connected component, we maximize the number of layers. So the maximum color will be our layers for that connected component. So how do we actually implement this? We'll use colors array or colors vector, which is a vector of size n+1 because we use one based indexing. And color of I is -1 means I is unvisited. Then we have the Q for our BFS, and we basically have our answer, which is the final answer. And we basically have a Boolean variable is contradiction. So as I mentioned just now, we'll check for a contradiction in our BFS. So in the BFS, we essentially first check if the color of the current node is -1. If the color of the current node is -1, it's unvisited, so we launch the BFS from the current node I. So we push I to the queue and we mark an arbitrary color for I. So we use the we use the color 1 for marking the initial node. And while the queue is not empty, we basically do the BFS. So in the BFS, we take the top node from the queue. If the node has color 1, then we increase the number of occurrences of color 1 by 1, and we increase the number of occurrences of color 2 by 1 again if the node has color 2. Then we basically pop the queue and we add the adjacent nodes V. So note that V is the first element and type is the second element in my representation. So if the color of V is not -1, then V is visited. And if V is visited, we just need to check for a contradiction. So as I mentioned, if type is 1 and the color is the same, we have a contradiction. And if type is 2 and the color is not the same, then also we have a contradiction. And this happens when V is visited. If V is not visited, we'll basically have to push V to the queue after setting the appropriate color for V. And basically after we do this, we have explored the current connected component and we know number of occurrences of color 1 and color 2, and we'll basically choose the color which appears more as the color of layers, and that's represented by this statement. And in the end, we just check for a contradiction. If there's a contradiction, the output will be -1, otherwise the output will be this answer which we have computed. And if we run this code on the sample test cases, we see that we get the correct output of 2, 2 and -1. And let's just submit this code to see that it gets accepted. So as you could see, my code got accepted. I hope you like this problem and my solution to this problem. As you could see, we learned an important technique of node coloring with the help of this problem. In the description below this video, you will find similar problems on node coloring which you can practice to improve your graph theory skills and your understanding of the node coloring technique. Thank you for watching this video.